And now, our feature presentation.
So, welcome to the Bork Bark pre-E3 live stream podcast thingy. Over the next couple of days, E3 obviously, we're gonna, that was bad. Over the next couple of days, check in on borkbark.net, which I recently decided to set up to see reactions to some of the announcements at E3, and also some daily roundups of the news that I think is important. Also, I'm going to give some reviews of the presentations in general, what they did well, some things that they're missing, and kind of like who won E3. And at the end of E3, I'm also probably going to do a live stream to sum it all up together. And also, that's going to be uploaded to YouTube as well. Alright, so just so we don't miss anything, I'm going to hit each presentation in the order that they happen, and then talk about some of the games you might see on the floor, and other things like that. Or the games that might not even be really at E3, but announced at that time. So, that means, to begin, we're going to be, of the presentations, the first one is E3, but, it's EA, not E3. Let's begin with E. But first, let's start with some of the pre-E3 announcements and talk about some of the people who won't be there notably. So first, we're going to talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield, the direct that happened today, the 5th. Most importantly, is that the games received their release date, November 15th, 2019. On top of this, the biggest things coming out of the direct were that the Pokemon battles are going to be significantly different due to the addition of Dynamax. Effectively what that is it makes your Pokemon get really beefed up stats-wise and actually get significantly larger, like massive. Gym battles will also be, the Gym Masters will also have the ability to do this. Your ability, I don't know how it applies to the Gym Masters as much, but your Dynamax will only last 3 turns before it deactivates and you go back to your regular Pokemon. I imagine for the Gym Masters it does something similar. Also coming out of that though is that there's going to be a 4-player co-op raid against really strong Dynamax Pokemon who stay obviously Dynamax the entire time out in the wild. I don't know if the co-op's going to be if there's going to be anything outside of that, and it looks like there's also going to be some sort of multiplayer combat as well. However, that wasn't the only Pokemon news to come out before E3. Last week, there was a Pokemon press conference, and in that they announced Pokemon Home, which enables cloud-based trading and Pokemon management that interacts with all of the games from the 3DS all the way up until Pokemon Sword and Shield, along with Pokemon Go. They also announced some other things out of that, but they announced Pokemon Sleep, but I don't know when that's going to be coming out, nor do I exactly know what that really entails. They didn't really detail a lot of the other stuff as much. Also, notably, not at E3 this year is Sony. Reason is because people think that they're wanting to really focus on their state of play live streams. Along with that, they're probably going to have a bit. If they did have one this year, it would probably be a bit weak because of next year's expected PS5 launch, and a lot of their first-party stuff is probably going to be going towards that. So, however, we could see some information later this month from them during their State of Play live stream. But it's expected to be later this month because that matches up with all the other dates that they've had in the past. However, but since Sony skipped E3, we did get Death Stranding news a week early. The game now has a release date of November 8th. It still doesn't make as much sense as you kind of would hope it to, but you know what? It's one of those games. Anyways, with that, we're on to to the E3 weekend and EA, which I'm going to keep confusing while I'm reading a script. So EA Play opens E3 weekend June 8th and the 9th, with various streams happening throughout the 8th. We should see, we're going to see Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I would like to see maybe some more Star Wars titles, but the way things are going with the EA using that license, we're probably not. There's also going to be Need for Speed 2019 there, which I kind of like. I want to like the Need for Speed franchise, just they haven't been that great. And there's probably people out there who disagree with me, and I'm are probably like, no, you're wrong, but right now, it's not. It's like it's kind of dead. We're also gonna probably see like FIFA and Madden. I would really like to see more actual gameplay from them, both of those really, because they're kind of recycled stuff, and I'd like to see them try to show off what difference they have rather than just kind of being like, here's a quick gameplay trailer and move on. There's like some expectations that there's going to be a new Plants vs. Zombie game, probably going to be Garden Warfare 3 if there is one, but who knows. And what I would really love to see, but I know it's never going to happen, would be a new Medal of Honor game, because the Medal of Honor games have been used as like their story-based single-player experience, and with Call of Duty, which I'll get to later, shifting to a lot more edgier type of game, that would be a perfect time to maybe try to throw in Medal of Honor as well to kind of fill that, to match that market. Because we know EA likes to kind of throw their games out there to match what the market's also throwing out. Yeah, that covers what I'm really hoping and kind of expecting from EA. There's probably got some extra stuff in there, like The Sims probably might show up for a little bit, and like Anthem and Apex Legends will probably get talked about, at least a little bit. But yeah, that's really all I'm really expecting from EA. Next up, we have Microsoft's press conference on the 9th, which starts at 1 p.m. Local time, which is Pacific time. This presentation is supposed to be the longest in the company's history at E3, with expectations were of about it lasting 2 hours or so. We have some clues and some leaks that have come out, like Fable 4 was spotted on Mixer, which is, both of them are owned by Microsoft, so that's interesting. We also saw that the Halo Master Chief Collection, we did get some gameplay in a live stream, but I'm expecting a lot more from it. I'm also expecting a lot more of Age of Empires, the remakes, and Age of Empires 4, which I'm really excited about because Relic's doing. But because they explicitly mentioned those in their press conference, and when they talked about releasing games through Steam. So I'm expecting a little bit more news for that. Odds are we're getting some stuff. We're getting an expansion on some of the stuff they talked about earlier about that whole innovation like thing, especially probably in regards to Project xCloud, which is their game streaming service that they recently partnered with Sony on, and also because the Google Stadia was announced, so they're probably going to touch on that, and maybe touch on like they talked about advancements in AI. They might talk about that as well. Halo Infinite will probably, if they do actually talk about it, probably won't be much, because I would be really shocked if the game came out before like November of 2020, and I would be even more shocked if it wasn't a launch title for the next Xbox, which will also probably be talked about at E3, because Microsoft has been rather silent regarding the next-gen Xbox, while Sony's been kind of updating it throughout the year, so I imagine they'll probably want to talk about that quite a bit. But obviously next year is probably going to be when everybody doubles down on the next-gen consoles. And lastly, we might get some extra games peppered in there, like Destroy All Humans, that might show up. And also what I'm hoping for is like Fuga of the Battlefield, because that was actually highlighted at a recent game show expo in Tokyo by Microsoft's indie development, like whatever their like the Microsoft ID at Xbox program. They actually had that at the conference, so I'm really hoping that shows up, and we might also get something like Kill IF and maybe the Ghostbusters game that they're remastering. Stuff like that might show up at the Xbox press conference as well. But I know they do say that they have a lot of first-party things and stuff like that, because like last E3, they really focused on, look at all these people we've acquired and look at all these guys who are going to be developing for us. So I imagine we're going to get quite a bit from them. And then the last press conference for the weekend before E3 officially starts is Bethesda with their press conference at 5:30 on the 9th. Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 are not going to be there according to the Bethesda, But we will likely see Doom Eternal, which has a big banner outside, where that means obviously they're going to be there, and Wolfenstein Youngblood. Also, we might see something from the team that did Prey, and like The Evil Within, because they've just kind of been silent. And realistically, I'm not expecting much from Bethesda this year, especially because last year they had Fallout 76, and that was their big thing, and that tanked hard. So, probably not going to be that great, especially because Elder Scrolls and Starfield aren't going to be there. And there's not going to be a Fallout game because Fallout 76 just came out. Though we might see Fallout Shelter's sequel, because that was released in China, but it hasn't been brought to the West, so I imagine they might announce that it's being brought to the West. Now, to open E3 officially is the PC Gaming Show at 10 a.m. local, and that is sponsored by Epic Game Store, which means we'll probably see some things that are exclusives for the Epic Game Store, and that kind of makes me a little sad. But I'm not sure what to exactly expect. We might see something like AMD or Nvidia announce some hardware, or like Intel, because normally they sponsor that if they do that, but we might see it. We'll probably see a bunch of kind of VR things. It'd be nice to see a big VR game rather than the smaller gimmicky ones that have typically made up this space. It would be fun if something like SWAT 5 or like a remaster sequel type thing of like a Sid Meier Tycoon game. That would be great to come out, but I'm not really expecting much in that department. Lastly, the ultimate dream would be obviously Valve starting the apocalypse and counting to the number 3. Won't happen, but it's the dream. Okay, and then later on the 10th we have Ubisoft with their press conference at 1. Ubisoft has 3 big unannounced games that they're going to be going over, and one of the ones that have been rumored leaked, I don't know if it counts towards that 3, is a roller derby game. It's kind of like you do, like, the whole concept of roller derbies, you like do laps, but it looks like it's more of a combat, like a Mario Kart type thing where you like attack each other and whatever. But we've also got a rumor that the next Assassin's Creed could be there, and that one could be featuring Vikings. But I mean, if it's a 2020 game, they'll probably wait till 2020 to do something about it. And then we also saw that a new Watch Dogs was announced. I think it got leaked and then they announced it, which is being set in London. There's also been some increasing rumors about a new Splinter Cell game. Now, Ubisoft keeps denying this, and it's stupid of them to do so because a lot of people want it. They'll sell the game. Like, it's dumb. Stop doing that. Because I would really like a new Splinter Cell game. I know a lot of people really like a new Splinter Cell game, and I'm expecting one to be announced. That's it. Also, the dream here is, in terms of Tom Clancy, I would really love to see the Rainbow Six Patriots project get reopened and actually like finished, because for a little bit of background, that was actually what was originally announced for the next Rainbow Six game before Siege was, but then they reworked it into Siege. I forget exactly what happened, but there was actually like the intro level and stuff got actually released, like footage of it and stuff, and the game sounded and looked spectacular. So I would really love to see that come back, but odds are if we get anything, it'll just be like year 4 or 5 of Siege and how they talked about it being transitioned to next gen. So, but I would really love to see Patriots. Also, Beyond Good and Evil 2 got its own press conference outside of E3, so it won't be there. And lastly, we know explicitly that like Ghost Recon Breakpoint will probably be there as well, because it got announced a few weeks back. But it probably won't be that much. I mean, maybe and other things we might see is like Rayman or Rabbids, maybe Just Dance. But the biggest thing is those 3 unannounced games that I'm hoping are more original IPs rather than just sequels. But we'll see. And then the last press conference on the 10th is Square Enix, which their press conference starts at 6 p.m. I almost guarantee you that we're gonna see Final Fantasy VII, because at this point it's coming close. Like, the thing about it is, after they pulled a bunch of devs off, like, I know CyberConnect 2 they had on there, and I think they had about 2 or 3 other ones. They pulled them off to bring it back in-house like few years ago, and they've been releasing a lot of all this small promotional stuff. And the game's being, just as a reminder, the game's being released episodically, so they have to be coming close to releasing the first episode. Like, they've got to be there, and they're gonna be announcing a release date. I almost guarantee it. Also, Square Enix has the Avengers game that they teased last year, and they actually even accidentally released information about the game. They mentioned that it would be having 4-player co-op, and that there would be a custom character like customization skill tree thing for every hero, so you can modify them based on your playstyle. So that's going to be there. Also, we might see a new Nier game, either like a sequel or a Switch port, or both, really, announced as well. Obviously, they've got some other IPs, but those are the ones I think are definitely going to be the big showings. Then we have day 2 of E3 that starts with Nintendo's E3 Direct at 9 a.m. This year, it's loaded. Their lineup is loaded. It's primed. They said it's estimated to be about 45 minutes. So, and they're doing it like the Direct style, so it's just going to be rapid fire announcements. So that's going to be a lot to take in. Also, this year I'm really excited for it because I recently bought myself a Switch, and I actually bought it pretty much exclusively for Astral Chain, so I'm really hyped to see that at the E3 Direct. Also, it'd be interesting to see a new Mario Kart, because it has been quite a while since they released a new Mario Kart. Like, they have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, but that was just a port from the Wii U version. It'd be interesting to see, a whole new game with new features, extra characters, so forth, so on. There are probably going to be several announcements of games that I'm absolutely shocked are like running on the Switch, kind of like how Doom and Wolfenstein. I'm not sure how they actually got them running on there. And like I mentioned before, we have Nier Automata. There's probably going to be some double dipping from like Ubisoft or Square Enix, like they've done before with like Rabbids, so forth. In terms of games we know that are going to be there, Luigi's Mansion 3, Metroid Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, and Animal Crossing. Which, Animal Crossing itself, there's been some rumors that it could be pushed back to 2020, early 2020, I mean, so it's still going to be there, but we're not sure. And even though Nintendo's been denying it, part of me doubts this, but I would honestly be really, really shocked if there wasn't some either tease or an announcement of a new Switch console. Either like the expected 3DS replacement, where it doesn't have the removable Joy-Cons and no like dock and so forth, or the significantly beefier version of the Nintendo Switch. Especially because Nvidia announced in one of their sales reports that they expect to see an increase in Tegra X1 sales this year, which the Nintendo Switch is based on. That's the hardware it's based on. So it's kind of suspicious, just me, because you normally have a set expectation amount, and it's not like the Switch is probably going to just randomly boost in sales from just software. That's my feeling, but I could be wrong. As for the kind of the rest of the field, as I mentioned before, Fuga of the Battlefield, I'd love to see that at E3, but it probably won't. Kill la Kill could show up at Xbox. I mean, there's a chance it could show up at Nintendo as well, but I mean, I don't have high expectations for it being at any of the press conferences because it is kind of niche. Reminder, it does come out July 26th. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is going to be at the E3. Wow, I flipped that. E3 Coliseum, since they did have that exclusivity contract with Sony, and it's the first time in a while I've been really interested in COD. Like, I was interested in World War II, but I never felt like the need to go buy it. But the new Modern Warfare, I really want to see their campaign, so I might pick that one up. Not only are we probably going to talk about the campaign, but we could see details on their multiplayer, which they talked about having crossplay. I don't know if they meant between like the Xbox and PS4, which a bunch of games have been recently kind of announcing that in a way, or if it's just like between the consoles and the PC, so forth. And speaking of crossplay, a lot of consoles have been announcing kind of this new crossplay functionality, and I think it was Call of Duty that said that theirs was going to be based on input, like controller versus mouse, rather than just based on your consoles. So, and like I also mentioned, the remaster of the 2009 Ghostbusters game, which might be at Xbox, but it could just be at like the floor. I really like that back on the PS3, so I'm really happy to see that. And then also we have Bandai Namco's like Sword Art Online, Alicization, Lycoris. I probably mispronounced that, but that's probably going to be there in some form, either at Nintendo or Microsoft. I'd be shocked just because of the popularity of the franchise if it wasn't at least buffed over at some point in one of those press conferences. And yeah, that pretty much covers what off the top of my head, what I can remember, and what I think's going to be there. Yeah, so the biggest things to me at E3, if they do happen, would be getting Age of Empires 4, an announcement for its release date, along with, if we could also bundle that up with any of the definitive editions of Age of Empires games release dates, that would be great. Fable 4, or I've also seen rumors that it's being called Fable 4 just to not confuse people, but it'll actually just be called Fable, which personally I'm not that big of a fan into the Fable franchise, but I know a lot of people are, and that this game could be really good, so I want to see that. Obviously Ubisoft's big three, like the announced games, especially if one of them is a Tom Clancy's like Splinter Cell, that would be great. Final Fantasy VII, that would be a really big announcement too. Obviously, I'm invested in Nintendo showing off Astral Chain, and also like any of their big IPs, the announcements that they would have would also probably be like release dates, further details, so forth. And then lastly, just I want to see some like of the smaller games. So I want to see them try to push the envelope a little bit. I'm not just saying just graphics, but I want to see them try to push like story, or try to push something like or just like the visual quality feel. I just want to see those type of games. Even if I'm not really sold on wanting to buy them, I like to see those type of innovative games show up. So those are the biggest things I want to see from E3. And with that, I guess we'll conclude the pre-E3 expectations live stream. As I mentioned at the top, if you're interested in seeing some of my grades of the presentations, highlights of the weekend, check out borkbark.net, which I recently set up, where I'll be posting updates, along with, in the future, probably, doing some reviews of games, random tidbit articles. Like right now I have an article up there about replacing the power supply on an original Xbox because mine died for some weird reason. And also maybe some extra goodies. I don't know what I plan in the future or what I feel like doing, but there could be some of those up there as well. And also check out the YouTube channel, or if you're on this, feel like subscribing, because I might actually try to post the stream content on there. Just recently I haven't really streamed all that much, and the streams themselves weren't that great. So in the future I might actually try to upload stuff from the streams there, and also game reviews and stuff will be posted there like usual once I actually get around to doing them. So yeah, I guess thanks for watching, and check back in a couple of days. Thanks. Bye.